तो जो रिलीफ जो इतना टैक्स पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स में दिया गया है वो भी परिवार के पास में और महिला के पास में आएगा, उसके हाथ में आएगा, जिससे वो अपना घर का खर्चा चला सकती है। सो वो भी एक महिला के लिए हमें नहीं देखना चाहिए कि महिला के लिए नहीं है, वो भी महिला के लिए एक बेनिफिट है।
गेहूं पुरुषों के लिए भी है और महिला के लिए टैक्स भी है।
Hi ma'am, Meghna Mittal from ET Now. The fiscal glide path that you have given is 4.5% by 2025-26, which may be considered slightly bold, but does it also indicate your confidence in continuing tax buoyancy in the coming years?
Somnathan has already answered it. Yes, tax buoyancy, as you saw even yesterday, GST collection figures have come. Direct taxation buoyancy is also observed in the current year. That is one thing. I think to the credit of this team, there's been a very robust management of macroeconomics. That certainly bears an impact. So all of us might talk about this particular step or that particular step, but I think together, revenue, expenditure, disinvestment, banking, all of us together have worked in such a way that where you can earn more through tax avoidance related measures, and similarly where you can bring in more people into the tax net, you are taking steps. Similarly, prudent ways of effective expenditure without cutting down expenditure, committed expenditure or other expenditure, are all ways in which you're making money mean more. And for every rupee that you spend, you get a better set of returns. So I think efficient management also has a very big role to play here.
May I just add? I just wanted to add to your question. The estimates in the budget, the revenue estimates in the budget, do not assume a buoyancy greater than 1 for the coming financial year. It assumes a buoyancy of 1. Gross taxes are expected to grow by the same 10.5% by which we have estimated the GDP to grow, which is slightly lower than the figure implied by the economic survey. And therefore, we are assuming only a buoyancy of 1. But if the experience of this year is repeated next year, then it may in fact be more than 1. But we have taken a conservative assumption. And I think the very fact that the commitment to 4.5% was reiterated word by word in this budget gives you an indication that we feel that we have the means and the ability to reach that target by 2025-26. I would also point out that many of our expenditure increases are on discretionary spends. We have kept a very tight lid on the irreducible types of expenditure, and therefore there is room in the budget, both on the revenue side and on the expenditure side, for us to reach that fiscal deficit target by 2025-26. And it is not lightly that the Finance Minister has reiterated it in Parliament today.
Ma'am, Timsi Jaipuria from CNBC TV 18. Ma'am, I have two questions. Firstly, on the TDS reforms, you've come out with two specific reforms. For one, 20% TDS on foreign investments. Why has this been introduced? Is it to curb the flight of capital or investments which was going outside the country? And secondly, on students who are going outside to study, on that also the TDS has come, there's a 5% that has been levied. Or it has been reduced.
There is no change on education, or absolutely not. That's wrong. Your facts are wrong.
But what happens to the amount that one spends in staying there as a student?
First, correct the thing which you've said, because yours is a very powerful voice, and that can spread among your dosts, that can go out. No change has been made for education or health purpose, LRS. Please, I hope my voice is audible. Much more than Timsi's.
Thank you for correcting me, ma'am. But on the foreign capital, on the foreign investment, the TDS of 20%, if you could explain the rationale.
I think this question was asked, and I already answered it, to say that this is actually coming from income, and the income tax rates for those categories of people who are using this LRS to send money outside is much more than 20%. And so they were in any case, to pay for the tax. And in case they don't have to pay for the tax, they can always get a refund.
It is our impression, and there is enough information to indicate that there are quite a lot of people who are able to make these remittances, but whose tax returns are disproportionately low compared to what they send as remittances. Now that means if you don't collect the tax at source, you have to take measures later to catch them. That is much more difficult. If you are able to make remittances to invest in a property in Manhattan or in a stock brokerage account in Dubai, or if you are going to take a 30-day tour of the world, almost certainly your effective tax rate will be 20%. So, yes.
We have learned from both the economic survey and the RBI report that there's a lot of public investment and private consumption. Are you still happy with the private investment? Are you still expecting it to grow? Or do you think for the moment it is only public investment that will go on?
Hi. Yesterday in the press conference, we answered this question, and we also had a slide up there in the presentation we made yesterday that private capital investment has been improving every year in the last 3 years. For example, in the first half of 2021, based on quarterly earnings reports filed by listed companies, the capital expenditure was 2.1 lakh crores, which increased to 2.4 lakh crores in 21-22 in the first half, April to September. And 22-23, it has gone up to 3.3 lakh crores. And then you look at the RBI survey on capacity utilization and investment spending plans of the respondents. There is a very clear sign that many private sector companies are looking to enhance their capital expenditure. So both in terms of intent and in terms of actual spend, private capital investment is showing very clear signs of revival. Thank you.
Ma'am, this is Ujjwal Narayan from Newsrise. Ma'am, this is your 5th budget, and when you started in the first budget, you talk about India reaching to a 5 trillion economy by 2025. So just I wanted to know what is the situation, because yesterday CA has put forward another goal post of becoming a 7 trillion economy in next 7 years. So what is happening to that target? That is my simple question.
Say, we are moving along to achieve our targets, both mine and his. We'll achieve.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Chetan from India Today Group. Ma'am, while calculating the fiscal match for FY24, how did you assume the disruptive variables like the crude prices and, of course, China unlocking and its impact on commodity prices? What was the benchmark that you were the thinking behind the rationale?
This is a question that keeps coming every budget, and I keep giving you the same answer. That there is no part of the budget mathematics that has a crude price number as an input in any spreadsheet. See, because there is no direct subsidy on any petroleum product. Unlike the fertilizer price or the price of the MSP, these have direct impacts on the budget. The petrol price would have an impact only if it triggers some major change in the tax system. Otherwise, the petrol, diesel, oil prices do not directly affect our budgeting. So it is not that there were days, maybe 10-15 years ago, when there was a lot of subsidy on these commodities. At that time, a crude price assumption was inherent in the budget. Today, there is no inherent crude. The assumption we are making in the budget is only that there will be no subsidies on petrol and diesel, and that global prices will be such that there will be no subsidies. What the global price will be, I don't need to make an assumption. So no assumption has been made.
And this is confusion since last year when people referred to what was said in the economic survey as though it was said in the budget itself. The budget didn't say it then, the budget doesn't say it now.
मैं आमिर हूँ न्यूज़ नेशन से। पहला सवाल तो ये कि जब शुरुआत हुई थी एक तरह से मोदी सरकार की, तो कहा था कि अर्थव्यवस्था को बेहतर करने के लिए कड़वे घूंट पीने पड़ेंगे और बहुत ही कड़े मेजर्स लिए गए स्टार्टिंग में। लेकिन आज ये देख रहे हैं कि सरकार ने कड़वे घूंट पिए हैं जनता को खुश देखने के लिए। तो क्या ये एक चुनावी बजट है, इसको मानती है? और पहला ये, दूसरा ये कि इनकम टैक्स में जिस तरह से जो छूट की सीमा है, जो पहला फेज है आपका जिसमें 7 लाख तक की छूट है, तो उसमें वो फेज आपको लगता है कि इससे राजस्व पर भार पड़ेगा? कितना भार पड़ेगा, कोई एस्टिमेट है इस?
We have said it in the budget speech itself as to what is the net revenue foregone. उसका घोषणा ही कर चुके हैं हम, हिडन नहीं रखे। सो वो आ गया है 35,000
direct taxes 37,000 crore, indirect taxes 1,000 crore, additional revenue through indirect taxation measures 3,000 crores, and so net is 35,000 crore.
This is Anuradha from Economic Times. In your budget speech, ma'am, you spoke about the review of financial sector regulators. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Something.
Some of these exercises, when the regulations are brought in, they serve a purpose. Thereafter, the economy changes. So all the regulators have been doing it as part of their exercise. But there's a time now to take up a comprehensive review, and you will recall RBI had formed a committee. They did it in 2020. They came out with a report in 2021. That is an ongoing process, and other regulators also will travel in that direction, that their regulations are what the economy needs today. Whatever tweaking is required, they will take up that steps. There's their own review, not by them.
Ma'am, congratulations on your penultimate budget. And ma'am, am I audible, ma'am? Congratulations on last full budget, and I just wanted to understand, you have mentioned, alluded to Banking Regulation Act Amendment and Banking Companies Act Amendment. Is it an indication that this year we'll see privatization on that front, public sector banking front? And if you could also throw some light on what kind of amendment it will undertake, apart from, allowing public sector bank for privatization.
These measures are for improving the governance of the boards and then investors' protection, etc. These are not to do with any disinvestment or the privatization measures. These are the different set of measures. Over a period of time, the things have changed, and the Banking Regulation Act also fall in line, or not fall in line, has to be aligned with the present day needs, what the directors are, who can be there, what their terms are going to be. So those kind of amendments are there. And one component, of course, is on the investors' protection areas as well.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Rima Sharma from Potibimba Live. My question, my question is regarding MSME sector in the northeast, especially in Assam. During pandemic, that Assam handloom sector and bamboo sector badly affected. Many artisans forced to close their work. So in your budget, you have saying something, MSME sector, you have given some relief and widen the possibilities. So as Gamusa also getting GI tag this time, so do you have any special relief for the Assam and northeastern artisans, especially in the handloom sector and bamboo sector?
In the last year's budget itself, I think for sustaining livelihoods and also making sure that the Northeast livelihoods are attended to, we came up with a specific program called PM Divine for the development of Northeast. and that was executed through the Northeastern Council. So that program continues, and that will take care of livelihood related, whether it is in the weavers or in any other such community.
But after getting the GI tag in the Gamusha, do you have any special package for the encourage to the handloom sector?
So that is something which the state government will have to tag along with the existing programs, either through the handicrafts program, the artisan and other things that we're coming up with, for which the rules will come out, either they can use it, or the textile ministries. I'm sure they can always find out from the textile ministry for GI tagged Gamusha, they can ask for a dispensation. So this is possible, but that is for the state government to interact with the respective ministries.
So, can you a little bit elaborate what kind of
I can't elaborate more, ma'am. You should ask the state government to deal with it for the respective ministry.
In your budget relief, what kind of relief you have given? Can you little bit elaborate it?
In my budget relief.
The MSME sector.
For MSME or for Gamusha or for GI, what are you asking? I'll send you some information. Ma'am, let's move on with other questions.
Good evening, ma'am. Arup from Business Standard. Ma'am, in this year's fiscal policy statement also you're speaking about unprecedented global headwinds and challenges. And again, you have not given forecast for the two succeeding years, in this case FY 24-25 and 25-26, although you have an internal consolidation roadmap. So are we going to see this as a new normal where you're not amending the FRBM Act again and you're not giving two succeeding years forecast, but you will continue having an internal roadmap? Yeah. Yeah, but you're not amending for the third consecutive year, you're not amending the FRBM Act and you're not giving two succeeding years targets.
Yeah, but we have given a glide path, and we are every budget stating whether we are aligning with the glide path given or not, right? So that pandemic was the new normal for 2 years, hasn't it been?
Hi, ma'am. Siddharth from Money Control here. The gross borrowing number is 15.4 lakh crores. Net is the gross borrowing is 15.4 lakh. Net is 11.8 lakh. Especially with real interest rates returning to positive territory in the last few months, with the RBI hiking rates, do you see borrowing costs for companies rising, especially and perhaps the government crowding out the private sector, and could that impact private investments?
So I think the question of crowding out, actually the increase in borrowing over the previous year is 8%. The economy has grown at a nominal rate of 15% over this same period. So this is a level of borrowing which I think will not lead to any incremental crowding out. In fact, as a percentage of the size of the nominal economy, the total gross borrowing is actually going to be lower in 23-24 than in 22-23. So incremental crowding out, I think, is not a significant issue, and that I do not think will lead to any impact on borrowing costs in the private sector.
Reiterating that point, that expected the required borrowings for the next year are of the same order what they are in the current year. Of course, the size of the economy has gone up. So it is not that the more money is being taken out of the savings which are available into the economy. So we don't see that impacting because it is of the same order. And even if you go 2 years back and just increase by nominal rates, the net borrowings are of the same order.
In fact, they are less than 2% more than the actuals. The figures stated were, I think, for the BE, but actually it will be only, estimates are that it will be less than 2%. Economy is nominally expected to grow at more than 10.5%. So, I mean, that should answer your question.
Ma'am, Aishwarya Paliwal from India Today. Ma'am, opposition parties have been calling this Nil Batta Sannata not good enough budget. Your comments?
Follow your Hindi. Would you say that again?
Ma'am, they said not good enough. Most of the opposition parties for the budget. Ma'am, your comment on that?
For what reasons, if I may know? Not good enough for? What reasons, ma'am? If you would like to repeat their words.
They have said, ma'am, most of the political parties.
I'm saying, if you could please repeat their words and say, not good enough, for what reasons per se?
They said nothing for the they said nothing much for the middle class. Most of the, yeah, this is what those parties. Ma'am, do you believe India will remain a bright spot, ma'am?
Please do. Agle mein kya? Next question, please.
Ma'am, my name is Mukesh and I work for Newsrise. Just wanted to know, is there a component of green bonds in the... does it contain green bonds also? I mean, what would be the component of green bonds? Sovereign green bonds.
Repeat your question, please.
You interrupted me. So basically, in this overall gross borrowing that we have for the year, what component of that would be in...
सो रहा था?
सो ही तो रहा था।
The all-new Slavia.
She is one of India's most recognizable international faces. She has acted in films in languages that range from Hindi to Tamil to Telugu to Kannada to Malayalam to Bengali to even Hungarian, French and Italian. But did you know that none of these are Aishwarya Rai's native language? If you did not already know, it's the beautiful ancient language Tulu from coastal Karnataka. But why are we telling you about Aishwarya's mother tongue? Well, because the Bombay government in Karnataka has just set the ball rolling to give Tulu status as the state's second official language after Kannada.
The government has finally formed a committee under the supervision of Mohan Alva to submit a report within 1 week to the state. With elections around the corner, the long pending demand of the people of coastal Karnataka is finally being fulfilled, the part of Karnataka which exported talent across the country and the globe.
Native Tulu speakers number about 1.8 million and are concentrated in the coastal districts of Karnataka.
Matirla, smile maltondu, tati bodondu.